Mr. Brian Luebben, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me, my friend.
Ashish, it is an honor, my friend. It's an honor to be on the show. I'm very, very excited. There's no other way that I would rather spend a Tuesday afternoon.
It's really, it's such a blessing to do this work, because I don't think people realize like how many cool people we get to meet and the conversations we get to have. I don't know you. You're just another guy, but we have a lot of mutual friends, and it seems like the universe keeps pulling us together. And as we were kind of preparing for this podcast, we need to stop talking. We need to start recording. This is going to be awesome. So just super honored that you're here. Thanks so much, man. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to have it too. And, such a cool point that you just brought up there, because we're in the age of information where everything is readily available, and our idols and our celebrities and our quote unquote possible mentors are so close yet so far at the same time. They're a DM away. You can DM your favorite celebrity. You can DM your favorite podcast host. You can DM your favorite thought leader or author. But how do you get a response? How do you generate interest for them to take time out of their day to speak with you? How do you provide value to them? And I found that instead of now being like, hey, I love your book. I'm so interested in what you have to teach and what you have to say. Can I have an hour call with you? Can I have an hour of your time? And time is the most valuable currency that there is. So a lot of the times, if you're even good enough to get a response, they'll say, I'm flattered, thank you so much, but I'm sorry, I'm booked solid. But you say, hey, I've got a podcast, I've got a show that I provide value to this audience that's exactly your audience that you would need to speak directly to. I'm going to give you an outlet to speak directly to your people. All of a sudden, you've got very influential people that are willing to do time with you.
Yes.
And then also you have me that you.
Plus, I get to talk to cool guys just like you, man. Forget about all the famous authors and stuff. We just get to talk to cool people. So,
yeah.
Well, I really want to know more about your background, your journey, how you got to here. Let's start with that, because I know you're a really ambitious guy. You just kind of was sharing with me a little bit about what you're up to work-wise, but tell us about your journey and where you're from and how you got here.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm getting better at this as I do interviews. So everyone that's listening, please bear with me and tell me where I'm doing great and tell me where I'm doing poorly. So I am from, just like the little emperor. It's like
thumbs up, thumbs down.
Does he die? Thumbs up, thumbs down. But I am from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've been around Tennessee and Georgia, the state of Georgia, my entire life. I'm currently residing in Atlanta, Georgia, in the basement of one of my house hacks that I've got, and in my home office right here, and it's pretty cool. So I live in a basement, but it's super cool. Don't think that that's lame, because I get paid to live here, basically. And so growing up, my family was not very close, super stressed about money. It was a taboo topic. Nobody wanted to speak on it. My dad made a lot of money, but none of the family was allowed to know how much he made. My mom actually disclosed to me in adulthood that she was not allowed to know how much my father made, because that wasn't her place. So this was an entire, a very strict upbringing when it came to money, not even having hey, okay, here's $30. I'll allow you to have $30 to go get groceries for the kids. And I saw that growing up. And maybe a vacation once I can remember maybe one or two vacations as a family growing up. So my dad and I had a poor relationship. He was always stressed from work, come home, and he'd be so tired from working 10, 11, 12 hours as an air traffic controller that he would not want to hang out with the family. And so while part of that is him, and him as a person, and I've forgiven and forgave and moved on from that. But it's also what's the reason I start this with authenticity and openness to all of you listening, is that is what is fueling me in my pursuit of financial independence and impact because when I have my kids and my children in the future, that it's going to be an Uno reverse card. So now that you know where I've come from, you know where I'm going, because now I'm setting my finances and my financial life up in a way that I'm going to have so much passive income coming in that I don't have to do anything with anyone that I don't want to do it with. So my moniker is I want to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. And when I have a family, I'm going to be a very present father, very present husband, very present friend. And that is essentially my life arc that I'm following right now. And that's hopefully I can give y'all some advice and some information that can help you on that arc as well.
The reverse Uno card. I love
Reverse
that.
Uno.
Reverse Uno. I mean, I just wanted.
It was getting heavy. I had to lighten it up.
I just want to honor you for sharing that story, and I'm sure you have shared that story with you, but it's important for people to hear because it is something that's very open and vulnerable that you just shared that the way you did, but it also does drive you and fuel you, and I will say that very impressive in how you have forgiven that past, but redirected it to focus on the future, right? Because what doesn't break you makes you stronger. And for you to observe and identify with your money story and your relationship with money and how you look at money, you've probably broken multiple generations of limitations or limiting beliefs. So just blessings to you on that, man. That's awesome.
I appreciate it. And money is the surface level of all of this. So me and Ashish are going to talk a lot about money in this episode, but it's a tool. It's a tool, just like if you're digging a hole, you're going to use a shovel. We're trying to dig ourselves out of a hole of, kind of the status quo, use an analogy there, of like corporate life and what the quote unquote golden life and American dream is. So, and like you said, like, yes, we're ending cycles of financial conversations, but also we're ending cycles, more importantly, I think, even so, of fathers that aren't present in the family. So for me, I'm going to be very honest because I know 2 or 3 generations back that it was the same thing. Like my dad's dad, his dad's dad. I don't know how many generations that I'm going to be the breaking point. So that's so cool for me. That fires me up. Totally. I get to be the generation that spawns where my kids are going to be so set for life and their kids are going to be set for life. And then it's going to be a ripple effect for generations. And that's the why. That's so much more powerful. And then, so money is a tool that helps me accomplish that goal.
So good, man. Tell me about what Happy true, Tuesday. Huh?
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, baby. Welcome to the podcast. Tell me what is, I mean, you're trying to pursue all this passive income. I know you're also transitioning. You're a serial entrepreneur. You got multiple things going on. You're trying to, have relationships and start a family and be a successful business guy. Like, what does true richness mean to you? What are you chasing?
Exactly what I said before. Being able to do what I want with who I want when I want. That's what I want specifically. Yeah. Because then I feel that as a human, for myself and anyone listening, that when you take away limitations and you take away constraints, then we all grow to the fullest of our ability to be a human. We all have different talents. We all have different interests. So if you remove these shackles, it's like water will fill whatever kind of container you put it in. So if you raise your container, then everyone can have so much more impact in whatever way that they want to, when they're not, having to clock into an accountant job when they never wanted to be an accountant and their dad was an accountant. And then they're like, oh, I'm going to go to school and now I've got 10 years in this. And, I guess I'm just going to retire for being an accountant, even though I hate it. That's just one example, but that's kind of commonplace.
I guess I'm sure a lot of listeners are thinking, wow, this guy's got it figured out. But there was probably a pivotal moment in your life, and you do have a lot of awareness about your money story and your past. And it clearly you've done some work on this, spiritually. Was there a moment in your life that was a trigger for you to say, like, enough's enough, I need to make a change? And what advice do you have for people who are potentially on a similar journey?
I came out of college and I was making more. I went straight into sales outside of college, B2B sales. And I was good. And I got better and better and better. And as I honed my craft as a salesman, my income grew and my expenses grew with it. And I didn't really believe in saving money. I was investing some. I understood stock market. I understood investing. But I finally learned what net worth was. And when I understood the concept of net worth, I looked on a piece of paper, and even though I was making six figures, like a year or two removed from school, I realized I was worthless. And it's kind of my existential moment that I was like, I'm making six figure and I am worthless. There's a big fat zero. And even that's a privilege because a lot of people are starting in the red. So as soon as I realized that's not a position of strength, and that I need to be a better steward of my money to be able to have it working for me. And then that was going to create the freedom, because as I was getting a commission check, I was flying out to Miami. And then I realized, hey, hold on a second. What if I stop getting commission checks? What if I get fired? What if something happens? Like, then what happens there? And I realized there was nothing there. And, I was young and single then, but what happens at that point? So I would say take a second to look at what you're doing and what works, and then what doesn't work, and then just really try to ratchet down on what does. That
you
may
guys,
be abstract.
I know you're a member of.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course, and I know you're a member of GoAbundance, and in GoAbundance they talk a lot about vertical income versus horizontal income. Can you share with the audience what that means?
Vertical income is income that the reason that they call it vertical and horizontal is vertical is you're standing up, you're moving, you're making things happen. It's earned income that requires energy, effort, and time from you. Horizontal income is passive income, to where you can make it while you're laying on the couch, and your time, your presence, your energy is not required. It's a machine that's churning in the background, and when you take a nap, when you go to sleep, you wake up and you are wealthier in that time frame from when you fell asleep.
Yeah, it's so important for people to hear that, because regardless of whether you're running a business and your company is your job, and there's a lot of people who have permanent jobs at the companies that they own, or you're actually working for somebody and having a W-2 job, like having income that is both vertical, where you're creating value and working and adding time and energy, like you said, and also horizontal time, where you don't have to do anything and money's just showing up for you, or you're getting passive income. Super important for people to think about that. And you're blessed to learn that I don't actually know how old you are, but you look like a young guy.
Just turned 27.
Yeah.
Turned 27 on the 1st, December 1st.
Yeah, so to learn that at 27, like, I'm sure there's 60-year-old guys listening to this like, oh man, I wish I learned that at 27, So
I've got a step further too. I just learned.
Go.
All right. So you've got vertical income, and then you've got passive income. And I was at Tony Robbins, his Unleashed Power Within. I was just at his first in-person UPW in 2 years. And I was sitting in the audience, and I was sitting next to a gentleman that had exited 4 different businesses. And he was maybe late 50s, early 60s. He'd exited four successful 8-figure exits from businesses. So he had started companies, sold the companies off, had a giant cash event, been retired 4 times in his life already. So very fortunate. So all of us are cut from the same cloth, to where in order to be that person, it's not about the goal, it's about who you become to accomplish the goal. And when you become that person that creates a business like that, or that becomes an investor, or becomes a person that sets goals and accomplishes those goals. His advice to me was, my idea was I wanted all this passive income so I could go travel the world once I had a certain amount of passive income. And he goes, passive income is good, but do you want to know what's great? And I said, what? And he goes, income that you're passionate about. And I was like, whoa, hold on a second. What do you mean? And he goes, okay, say you get your $25,000 a month coming in passively. He goes, you go to Greece, you go to Hawaii, XYZ, picture whatever area that you want to go to. You go to this beach and you're on the beach for a month and you're laying in the sun, you're soaking in the sun, you're drinking pina coladas, you're hanging out with your significant other, you're looking at the birds and the waves. And then after a month, you realize that you have accomplished nothing and you're getting fat, you're getting lazy, you're getting sunburnt, and you're getting bored because you're a builder. You're an entrepreneur. You're built to do things and set goals and accomplish goals, and you lose your purpose. And he said he's done that 4 times in his life. So the advice that he gave to me that I will transmit through the microphone here is he said that you want to focus on building enough passive income to be able to focus on passionate sources of income where the money doesn't matter now. And for me, that was remote and scalable sources of income that I can take with me as I travel around the world. So that's what my 2022 is going to look like, is me transitioning from a W-2 corporate life to different passive, different remote streams of income that I can make while I'm traveling. So it's and that I'm passionate about. So it does like multiple things. Like I get to make my income, have an impact, do something I enjoy, make money while I'm doing it, and travel all at the same time. So I'll take a breath now.
That's awesome. And that's all, I think what you just mentioned there is like that's true freedom, right? When you're not only making passive income, but you're also doing something that you love. It's not work anymore. And the more, just like anything, you just mentioned it about sales. Like in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you got to know your craft and you got to lean into your craft. You're not going to become successful in any business from 9 to 5 or pretending like it's just going to work without you. So having that passion about how to lean into your business and make it fun and give everything that you have into that company because you want to, not because you think it's going to make you money. It's an important ingredient that I like the way you phrase that.
And find out what's light and what's heavy.
Right. Tell us about, and we were talking about this before we started recording. Tell us about your superpower.
Connection.
What does that mean?
I am a connector. So whenever I introduce myself at a party at this point, because now all of us start up all these different side hustles. So what do I want to introduce myself as? Do I want to introduce myself as a real estate investor? Do I want to do a sales professional? Do I want to do a podcast host? Do I want to do an amateur comedian when I'm on the microphone? I don't know. So I introduced myself as a connector, and it's a pretty cool pause. It's a pattern break, what Tony Robbins would call it, because everyone's so like, oh, what do you do? I'm in accounting. What do you do? I'm in sales. I'm a lawyer.
It's what people expect.
I'm a connector, and say, what's that? And I said that I've got the ability to connect with people that are across different communication styles, different personalities. And I thought that was something that was normal until this last year when I realized that it wasn't. Because think back, and you could probably think to each of yourselves, you're like, oh, this certain type of person, I just don't get along with that type of person. Whether you're very bubbly and animated, and maybe you don't get along with people that are stoic and analytical and serious, or maybe you get along with people that you feel are at your quote unquote income level. But then when you get to someone higher, you get the butterflies and you get the jitters because you have some preconceived notion that you're inferior to speak with them. There's an imbalance there that's felt from both parties. So as I was moving through different rooms, I found that I have a knack to get into rooms that I'm wildly underqualified to be in on paper. So I somehow had a knack of putting myself in those positions and putting myself in the lives of people that didn't know I existed. And finding ways to provide value to them and make every single one of them feel seen, known, and heard at the level that they need to be heard at. So it'd be the equivalent of saying hello to the janitor holding the door and making him feel valued, and then seeing the CEO 10 minutes later and then being able to speak with him at his level and make him feel valued. So that's my abstract way of describing it. I'm trying to tinker with it to get better.
It's really funny. I mean, again, we've never met. And I think that what you just said was really profound and is exactly why you're going to be uber successful. And when I started my business long time ago, we were in manufacturing. And what I realized was the answer to success in that business at that time was the ability to work with a factory worker and make him feel really energized and motivated and seen and heard, like you said. And maybe the largest corporate customer in the industry at a corporate office on the 16th floor of some building, and engaging with that customer or that client and making them feel valued and heard and connect with them. And there's very few people in life that can work that dynamic so naturally. But if you can hone in on those skills to be able to do that, I think you're right. Like, not everybody's like that, but there are skills that, share with me just. And for you, it probably comes naturally. So you're like, I don't know what the skills are, Ashish, but for you, it probably does come naturally. What can people do? What runs through your mind or your body as you're doing that? Because I want to share with people that there's a real gift in what you have there, and it will cause you to be uber successful. I'm excited to watch the journey because it makes you relatable. It makes you human, no matter how smart or how lack of information you have on any subject matter. You go into a room, you can engage with anybody. Give everyone some thoughts or some tips. Give everybody a hack.
Yeah, let's hack.
Let's hack. Give me a hack.
Real quick. Yeah, first step one, if you really want to hack it, go get the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And that's from the 20s. Go read that cover to cover a couple of times, and the same principles still apply true today. But as you were speaking, I thought of my friend Lance Allred, and he had a profound phrase that he told me when I did an episode with him. Lance is legally deaf. He was the first legally deaf player in the NBA. So he's about 7 foot tall. He was a center for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He played with LeBron James, and he's one of my dear friends now. And that was imagine me connecting with a guy that's like that, 7 foot tall. I'm like, whoa, what's up, buddy? Lance identifies as a bridge. And I think that would be a more concise way of describing it, to where people have a knack for communicating only in the style that they're accustomed to. And the message that they're trying to portray is lost in translation, even if you're speaking English to English, to the other person from their lens and their personality. So I aspire to be a bridge, to Lance's words, between the two, to where I can communicate something to someone analytically and also charismatically to someone that's bubbly. So the advice that I would give would be to be curious, genuinely, as often as you can. Nobody really cares as much about what you do as they care about what they do. Ask questions, be genuinely interested in any and in all and every interaction. Every single person has something to offer you of value, whether you know it or not. I would say meet people where they're at, and that goes with mirroring. We all have what's called mirror neuron in our brain's conscious. That's why whenever you see someone, we appreciate and recognize subconsciously people that remind us of us. So it's even in our physical mannerisms, our body language. Are you really animated with your hands when you speak? Are you reserved? How is your cadence? Is your cadence slow, Do you think and speak with a lot of brevity? Or are you super hyper and super excited to get every thought that pops in your head across? Meeting people where they're at and taking a second to analyze how do they communicate will allow you to have a pause and communicate to them to where they're instantly going to say, this guy or this girl, like, they get me. Like, we're cut from the same cloth. This is, I like this guy. He understands what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a tip that I would give. Be curious, be interested, know that people are offering value to you always. Everyone has value to offer, and meet people where they're at with their mannerisms, with their energy level, and with their cadence. I think that would just about get you to be the most popular person in any room without saying a word about yourself.
So good, man.
Yep.
Share a little bit about why you launched your podcast. What has inspired you to do it? Promote yourself a little bit, but I mean, I want you to share what the purpose of your podcast is and what message you're trying to share with people.
So the message I'm trying to share with people is the one that I just said about doing what you want, when you want, with who you want.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that I have created the show is because for 2 years now, it's been 2 years since I realized I was worthless on paper, and that has changed. But I was never worthless as a person. I'm
It's
not
on paper.
I have self-love. But from that point, I was pouring into people constantly. I was going to networking events, all these different conferences, all these different places, this conference, that conference, all these places that I was wildly underqualified to be at. And I was just, all these people are multi-millionaires that I'm surrounding myself with. And they're, I've got 6 units and they've got 600 or 6,000 or 6 million. And I just didn't go up to them and saying, hey, gee whiz, mister, can you mentor me? Can you please mentor me? I just met them as a freaking human being. And I communicate with a man first, friend second, businessman third. So I poured into all these people, and I apologize for the long-winded answer, but I poured into all these people for years, and now I never asked of anything. And now I start a podcast, and I'm basically booked through the year 2022, just about, with people that are multimillionaire business owners, entrepreneurs. It's to the point now where I'm backlogged 3 months on content. I don't have to reach out to anybody. I just have this list of people. And so my job and my new passion and mission in life is to share those conversations, ask the right questions of them that are people that are very difficult to get in front of a microphone and have time with, and ask the right questions to them to dissect what they do and what they did to be successful, and share that with as many freaking people as I humanly possibly can. So I view myself as an asker of questions and a marketing distributor for their information. So there's the long-winded answer.
And Mr. Super Connector.
Super Connector,
Mr.
man.
Super Connector.
I love asking questions.
Yeah, you have a really contagious energy, brother.
Thank you. Thank you, buddy.
It's good. What is something that you have? How do I ask this question? What is something that you're working through now on you personally? What has shown up for you in the work that you've been doing recently that has really shown up for you and you need to lean into it?
Limiting beliefs. Let me ponder on that. Limiting beliefs with income, because I have these numbers default in my head that I feel a lot of people default to. The 10,000 a month in passive income is a common one,
right,
that I hear a lot, and that's my tier 1. And then 25,000 a month is my tier 2. Thinking that I have to have a multi-year plan in order to get that, when the reality is it's possible to do that within a year. And so my limiting belief is that there's a certain X amount of time and experience and shit eating that you have to do to get these goals. But the reality is I know so many people that are able to do that with 1 or 2 deals. Mm-hmm. And I've got a coach, Jason Dries, who's the guy that coaches Brandon Turner off of the Bigger Pockets podcast, or former host of the Bigger Pockets podcast as of this interview. And he helps me with that. He's helping me with that because I originally was planning to do all of this stuff, get $25,000 in passive income by my 29th birthday, December 1st, 2023. And at that point, go travel the world. But I'm realizing now I can do that in 6 months. Mm-hmm. It's possible. It doesn't mean it's easy. Nothing's ever easy, but it's possible. And then when you realize it's possible, your mind starts working in different ways and asking different questions, because your mind will expand to the level of questions that you ask. And now I'm asking different questions to where, as before, here's an example. Before, my plan was to buy laundromats next year to get me my $25,000. But now the focus has shifted to these remote streams of income, which will 5x my current income, which at that point, the laundromats are playing small ball, and I can just search for distribution centers, commercial centers. And I have no idea about any of this.
Mm-hmm. You're just learning too.
But you can make like $25,000 a month from a commercial center or a distribution center, industrial center. And they're triple net leases, which I'm sure people that are listening to this show are familiar with. So that's what's firing me up right now, is realize it's all possible because I've seen it. And my coach literally coaches people that have done it. And he doesn't tell me anything tactical behind it. He just tells me about the possibilities of it. So that's the mindsets that the limiting beliefs that I'm working through right now, is asking better questions in order to accomplish things faster than I initially thought that they would be. And nobody even told me that there would be that much time associated. But then again, before we started this entire journey, all of us thought that we were going to have to work till we were 65 anyways. So we've come a long way.
Ask bigger questions. Love that.
Bigger questions.
I'm going to name the episode. I'm going to use that as the name of the episode. One of the things that it's really important for people to hear that, because your mind has so many constructs that limit what it thinks it's possible. And you ask a question of like, how do you 10x your income in 12 months? Like you can solve that problem, but we're not used to solving it. We're not used to thinking about it that it's a possibility. Mm-hmm. So by asking the right question and then really like meditating on, well, it is possible. It's totally possible. It's totally possible. Allowing what shows up to show up. The difference though is you got to do the work, right? You said is that you're not going to just dream 10x income. You got to go learn. You got to go do the work. You got to hustle. You got to get in bigger rooms. You got to ask more questions. You got to make mistakes. You got to learn more. Like there's a ton.
Can I give you a practical example?
150%.
So Tony Robbins talks a lot about getting out of your head and getting into your heart. I'm a very rational, analytical person, which you wouldn't assume based off of how I'm speaking. I'm also very charismatic with my delivery, but my mind works analytically. So my previous notion was, okay, I want $10,000 a month. That means that for the rental units, if I get $100 a door, I need like 1,000 doors or 10,000 doors, whatever, 1,000 doors to be able to do that. And then I was like, I'll do that in 5 years. I'll buy a duplex, a quad, and all that. And so that was my original plan. And I started working bits and pieces of that. But what my coaches helped me realize is that it's important to have a ground plan, but you also need to open, and this is going to get woo-woo. Everyone buckle up, because
buckle up. Here we go some woo-woo.
Don't take my word for it. Please listen to every single uber successful person that tells you this. I'm just regurgitating it to you. You need to get out of your head and into your heart, because your life does not work rationally. There's nothing rational or logical about life. It doesn't work like that. Like, life works, like I said, your life you have some people that have life, everything good happens to them, right? It's like the freaking sun shines on them. And then you have your one buddy that every single thing possible goes wrong for him. If he goes to Vegas, you can guarantee to fade his bet, because he's not going to win anything, because he already knows he's not going to win anything. So let me bring all this down and tie it with a bow. It's important to have a tactical plan on the ground, but at the same time, when you're trying to accomplish a massive goal, you have to simultaneously allow yourself to be open and recognize the possibility that anything can happen at any given moment. And you have to be open to that. And an example of that is 2 years ago, I'm buying my first house hack. Things are going well. I'm going to local real estate meetups. And I'm like, anything is possible. And I hear this guy, David Osborne, on a podcast. You know David? You know of David?
I've heard of David, yes.
So David is one of the founders of GoBundance. It is a mastermind group for accredited investors, and I also am now employed by them, which is another example of this. They hired me to be on their growth team, so I'm leading their growth team. So if anyone's interested in GoBundance, feel free to shoot me a message. And so David is worth about 150 million. So he's on these podcasts and he's speaking on these podcasts. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, listen to this guy that's almost a billionaire speaking. I'm like, that sounds so cool. I want to meet him. And everyone's like, what do you mean? I said, I want to meet him. I want to figure out how to meet him. So I tried to reach out to him in all these different ways, and it wasn't working. So the salesman in me shot a message out to his team through his website. I requested to book him for a speaking engagement for 10,000 people. And I figured if I request someone to book for a speaking engagement of 10,000, somebody important on their team is going to read that. And in the body paragraph, I was honest. I said, hey, look, I'm a 25-year-old kid. Like, I've done some investing. I've got my feet wet. I've got skin in the game. I follow you. I understand everything that you're saying. I'll do anything you hate doing for free, and just do everything I can to provide value to you. Let me know. I will literally get on a plane today and fly out to Austin, Texas from Atlanta. I'll do anything to be mentored by you and Brian Luebben. And so that's not rational, right? That doesn't make sense. It's not logical. But he answered. And what that turned into was I was worth 6 figures at that point. So I didn't remotely qualify to be in GoBundance yet. And I started talking to his assistant, Matt King, his operations director. And then Matt texted me and called me on a Wednesday afternoon. And he said, hey, man, he's like, what if I told you that you've got an invitation to come to the GoBundance event in Breckenridge, Colorado? I said, oh, dude, that'd be a dream come true. He's like, what if I told you that it's like tomorrow? And I was like, oh, my God. He's like, book a flight tonight. If you book a flight tonight, you're going to be as my guest in GoBundance on Thursday in Breckenridge. Hung up the phone. Oh, also, fun fact, it was $5,000. I had to pay also. So you didn't have $5,000. Me, if you let your head get into that, which I called my friends and family, and they all told me how much of a dumbass I would be for doing this. And if I let my head lead the way on that,
you probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, but I was like, no, my gut and my heart is telling me that I need to do this. And so I book a flight, I book a rental car, I book the hotel, I pay the event fee with a credit card, and I call Matt back and I say, hey, I'm in. And he goes, figured you'd say that. And because you said that, and because you're showing your earnestness and that you're actually doing it, he's like, I got you a tea time with David in the morning. Get your golf clubs, bring your golf clubs. So I brought my golf clubs, and then within 1 month of everyone telling me that I was not going to ever meet this guy worth 100 million that was living in Austin, Texas.
You had golf
that I heard on the podcast. I was golfing with him that next morning, and I was golfing with him, and now I'll put a cherry on that. That was before this podcast twinkle in my eye, but now he is coming on my podcast next week.
Good for you, man. What a cool manifestation story.
And now that has led to hundreds and hundreds of close, dear personal friends and mentors from that experience that has led to all of this. And does any of that make rational sense? None.
That's such
Zero.
a cool story. I mean,
how do you forecast that?
Well, the cool thing is that's how, and you're right, you hit it right on the head, bro, is that's exactly how the universe works. And when you have this abundance mindset that you have to put effort, but you have to let the universe serve you, and you have to watch the coincidences as they line up for you, like, what a beautiful manifestation story. Congratulations. So cool.
Thank you. And I can't take credit for any of this. I just follow the systems and models of people that are wildly more successful than I am. That's
so amazing. Well, as we close up, tell me, are you a comedian? Are you doing side gigs as a comedian? You alluded to that earlier because I was about to ask you to tell us a joke.
Nah, I can tell you a joke. Me in my past life was a freaking joke. Spending all the freaking money No, my side gigs are actually now we've got the cake, we got the cherry on top, and now I'll put a candle on top of the cherry and I'll light a little fire on top of that. I left the Tony Robbins event, and now I'm in my W-2, and I'm like, okay, I need to buy another house hack, I need to buy another rental property, but I'm nowhere near quitting yet, but open to every and all possibility again that I can do this freaking thing, not when I'm 29, but in 2022. And I get a call on my phone. And also, guess what, Ashish? I still don't qualify to be in GoBundance. I still don't qualify to be in GoBundance. I'm closer, definitely. And it'll be very, very soon. But I get a call, and it's the CEO of GoBundance. He says, hey, I want you to lead my growth team. He's like, we haven't done anything like this before, but we're very passionate about getting this thing growing and getting this thing going. And we've seen the value that you've been pouring in over these years. And we want you to be on the growth team, and we want you to start going. And that became a very significant source of remote, passionate income, along with my podcast, along with, then I hung up the phone. I got another phone call completely separate from another guy that's buying and selling vacant land in Florida and Texas. That's one of my buddies. He said, hey man, this is blowing up so fast. We're sending out $10,000 of direct mail marketing every single month. He's like, we have so many leads we don't know what to do with. I said, cool, you need to hit the acquisitions. I'm in. And so all of a sudden in 1 week, with 2 phone calls, I found 2 remote sources of income that I can do in Brazil or Greece or Italy, to where I can make 5 to 10x what I make in my W-2.
Amazing.
That doesn't make sense.
How do people, if people want to connect with you or learn more about you, or, listen to your podcast, we'll put all the links in, but share with us how people can get a hold of you.
Go to your local insane asylum.
Yeah, exactly.
There's your joke. Yeah, for me, it's at Brian Luebben. That's like my personal stuff. You're not going to be as interested in that probably. I'd go follow my podcast page, Action Academy Podcast. I'd go follow that page. Obviously, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. And then if you wanted to go, me and Ashish are going to have similar guests, similar topics. Just a lot of people pouring a lot of value into you. So if you wanted to connect with me at all, let me speak to you microphone. Go subscribe to the podcast, Apple, leave us a rating and review, and then go leave Ashish one here too, because he deserves it. It's been a fantastic host, and this has been super fun.
It's been awesome, man. Just super honored to have you on the podcast. You've been great, and just congratulations on all your momentum. And this guy's gonna blow up, so make sure you follow him. Thanks, man, for joining me today.
Fun, man. I appreciate it, buddy.